Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons, while drinking an old-fashioned. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button now. Platforms other than YouTube tend to block some of our content. Subscribe now to get up-to-date videos and shorts as they release. Now, enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old-fashioned. I'm Brian, and today, gents, we are going to talk about Masonic education. Now, not that boring stuff that you've seen delivered at lodges, the same old mundane stuff that comes out of the short talk bulletins. No offense, guys, just not for everyone. Here are some ideas that maybe you can deploy in your lodge to step up Masonic education and get your brothers a little more engaged or excited, frankly, to come to a meeting. So, Masonic education, I know that most people think that it's got to mention a Mason or talk about floor work or different things that we do. It really doesn't. Masonic education is educating Masons. Nowhere that I've read, correct me where I'm wrong, there's a lot of folks that follow us that like to kind of correct us. Anything we do wrong, they've always got something to say. I know there's a truck driver in Indiana that's always got a lot to say about us, but I digress. So, Masonic education, again, you're educating your fellow Masons. So I want to throw out some ideas. Tell me what you think, but these are ideas that you can use to improve the quality of Masonic education in your lodge. So the first thing, we can go old school. We can just talk some historical presentations, right? We can focus on, again, this is what I call the basics, right? We can focus on the history of the organization. We can highlight some key milestones, maybe some influential members or some significant events. Stuff that we've probably done in lodge, right? But let's talk about the stuff that when one of the mantras of Masons are, we make good men better. But how? Well, one reason, right? We know it's surrounding yourself with good men. Normally when you have a good sphere of influence around you, better things happen. But that's not always enough. With all of this positive sphere of influence in the men that we have around us, why aren't we using some of their vast knowledge and resource to help the Masons in our lodge? So, for example, why aren't we doing a leadership workshop? Why aren't we just doing an interactive session where we can develop leadership skills, communication, team building, decision making? There's a lot of videos, if you just go on YouTube, team building exercises. I did it when I owned businesses and had employees. We would have annual meetings, but you would do these team building exercises, which would take them out of their comfort zone, but you would find out what the people in your organization were all about. It's a really cool thing. I can post some links in the video description to show you some cool things that we've used before. Another thing for Masonic education that we can use is a community service project showcase. Maybe a presentation to showcase some stuff that's going on in your community. Just to highlight what's going on in a neighborhood, in maybe an area where your lodge is. And this could be a segue for, I've been preaching this a lot, that Masons need to be getting more involved in the community. This is a great way to introduce an organization that your lodge should be helping. One other thing we need to do a better job on, and I say this somewhat jokingly. Masons, we are cheap, cheap, cheap. We complain about dues increases, per capita increases. If the lodge meal goes from $8 to $10, all of this stuff that's frankly comical. If we're arguing over $2 and $3 and $5 and $10, you probably ran yourself a little tight anyway. Maybe it's time for you to get yourself current and take a lap until you get your finances in order. But in the meantime, we have a ton of brothers who are we have a lot of attorneys, right? But we have a lot of financial planners, certified financial planners, a lot of successful businessmen. Why aren't we doing some financial literacy training in our lodge? Why aren't we just talking about some things that maybe some of our successful brothers have done with investments, or talk about how a real estate investment works? Talk about how to buy a home, how to sell a home. There's all these different things that we could do for Masonic Ed. Another thing we can do for Masonic Ed that I know nobody thinks about. Why aren't we doing some sort of a health and wellness program? Just information about how to kind of keep your brain and your body healthy. Just tips on good nutrition, exercise, stress management. Why aren't we doing something like that? I'm going to go back to the professional development. We have a ton of resources in our lodges. Why aren't we focusing on resume writing, interview techniques, networking, how to polish up your LinkedIn accounts, all of these things that a brother may not need now, but he may need later. And if we've developed these tools and planted the seed, this is something we can do. Another thing that I don't believe we as Masons do enough for Masonic education, it doesn't have to be a Mason that does the Masonic education. Why can't you guys go from labor to refreshment for the purpose of Masonic education and bring in a guest speaker? Maybe a local coach, a local athlete, a local speaker, the mayor, somebody in that can just talk about something different, right? To educate our Masons in a different way. We should be able to do Masonic Ed, and it does not have to be from a Mason. Another thing that we could do that I think we need to get a lot more advanced on are maybe some technology and innovation Masonic Eds. We can teach our members about new technology, digital tools, just things. We probably have some Masons in lodge, some of our older Masons that, I don't really know how to use this Facebook thing. Well, let's give a basic tutorial on Facebook. And Masonic education, folks, doesn't have to go on at a lodge meeting. Maybe you can say on the first Monday of every month, we're going to do a technology workshop, and you have a different series of things that you do. Maybe every first Monday of the month, you're going to do a professional development workshop. Talk about adding value. So if you've helped your brothers polish up on a resume or taught them a little advanced speaking skills or how to read body language, when it comes around to a dues increase, the perceived value is always there. Why not, damn Masons need this, conflict resolution training, some techniques and strategies just to how to resolve conflict. It would probably help our fraternity as a whole, right? Maybe we do an ethics and integrity workshop, discussions on just ethical behavior, moral decision making, both personal and an organizational standpoint. A lot of business professionals, real estate, financial planners, lawyers, there's a lot of continuing ed that may be out there that they may have to take, especially on ethics. Why aren't we doing that? Another one that I think is sorely missed, why couldn't we do a Masonic Ed or workshop on fundraising and grant writing? Sometimes we're worried about getting money here and there. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of grants out there. Once you know where to find them, write a letter, a request for a grant. You'd be surprised how many grants, and I bet you'd be shocked what grants are available for a volunteer or nonprofit organization such as ours. You'd be amazed. One thing that we could do a Masonic Ed on, time management. A lot of us think we're good at time management, but maybe invoking some skills and some tips and tricks how to block out time, a great Masonic education piece. And finally, why not an art and creativity session? I know this is where some people would say, Byrd, you've lost me now. You're getting all artsy fartsy on me. It's something different. This helps encourage a creative expression. We could, maybe it's something like there's some organizations in probably every decent sized city where you'll pay $40 and there's a canvas and everyone paints a picture and they take it home, right? Why couldn't you do something like that? Some sort of fun Masonic ed on what's the right way to paint, or everyone paint a square and compass and then you go and maybe donate it to an auction, or you know that you've got a function coming up for a charitable event. Maybe you get Masons together and you do something along those lines. We just want you to think outside of the box, to keep brothers interested in coming to Lodge, and not just for a meeting to read minutes and talk about paying bills. We need to be providing quality Masonic education that improves the perceived value of our organization. Perceived value, right? So another thing just to kind of throw out before we close out this video is this. If you're unsure about Masonic ed, we've given you some ideas, some definitely outside of the box. In some cases, you may think they're just wild as hell. But why don't you poll your members and say, here's some ideas for Masonic ed. What would you like to see? When's the last time that you've done that? Because when you ask your customer, your members, when you ask your customer what they want and they tell you, now it's time to deliver. Think about this, brothers. It's a great day to be a Mason. Thanks for watching the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. Cheers.